can tell, I've been doing a lot of videos on the importance of certain types of exercises, stretches, a lot of balance work, proprioception work that you can be doing to enhance your skiing this year. Now, I've had a couple requests from some of my female skiers talking about how to successfully return to skiing pretty much after having a baby. So we're looking at that postpartum phase when we've been allowed now to resume our activity and how to go about doing it in a safe manner. Okay, so ladies, let's kind of go through just a few things first that we just need to make sure we have a complete understanding of. So I have my friend here just to kind of show you guys. Obviously, here's the pelvis. And we know that when we get pregnant, we have an increased load to the front part of our body, which is going to increase the curvature to our lumbar spine, which sits here. Okay, so right off the bat, we know we're going to have an increased lordotic curvature, probably also to have a little bit of what we call anterior tilt into the pelvis, because again, we're making room for that baby to grow. And then at the same token, a lot of times, some of us may wind up getting some sciatica during pregnancy because those hips are going to go ahead and rotate out, again, allowing that pelvis to open. So this way the baby can have safe passage coming on out unless you are having C-section. Okay, so with that understanding, kind of knowing what's kind of going on here, a lot of what we want to do initially when we get back to getting ready to hit the slopes, getting even into the gym, doing anything of that nature, we want to really focus on our core. Okay, so what does that mean? We all hear this word all the time. We talk about core strengthening exercises. A lot of people aren't sure if their core is strong or weak. So when we talk about core, we're actually talking about the deep pelvic floor abdominal muscles. So in this area where the pelvis and the ischium and the pubic bone, everything come together, we're looking at this bowl of muscles here that essentially gets very stretched during pregnancy. Then the other thing we want to look at and address is all the little spinal stabilizers that come off that lumbar spine in this zone here. So we want to look at all of those low back little muscles, not the large ones, but the little guys that can create some extra movement happening, you know, again, because we were just going ahead and delivering out a nice sizable child. So with that being said, we want to look at pelvic floor muscles, we want to look at spinal stabilizers, then we also want to look at our psoas, our iliopsoas, and our QL. I've talked about these muscles before in various other videos as it pertains to even running. So we want to look at our hip flexors, which come off lumbar spine 1 through 4, and then come down here and insert themselves on the inside of that trochanter, which is part of the femur. And then we also want to look at our QL, which comes off the 12th rib and comes down here to the top part of the crest of the ilium. So we want to address all these things because they're essential in getting our core really reactivated, getting things stronger, because don't forget, when we're pregnant, we have 3 hormones, not just 2, that enter our body, and that third one is called relaxin, and it does exactly what it's supposed to do. It relaxes everything around this zone, including those hips, to allow for movement, for growth, for development of that baby that's coming in. And then once he or she exits your canal, or again, if you have C-section, unfortunately, that hormone can stay in your system for a good 6 months up to a year afterwards, which means everything is very mobile. Everything can be feeling like it just moves very easily. So we want to look at really creating some stability first in this zone before we focus on strengthening. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, that means we need to kind of go back to some basics and start from there, and then make sure that that core is initiating that action every time we even do lifting moves or when we're heading down the slopes on our skis. Okay, so guys, we're going to start off with some basic stability exercises you can do at home to really get your core to fire postpartum. So now what we want to talk about is creating some stability for the core and for the hips because you just had a baby. So instead of really looking at doing a lot of soft tissue stretching work, because everything is already really flexible and mobile, we want to create stability before we embark upon really starting to go back to the gym, hitting those slopes, or doing any type of physical activity that we may have been doing either during pregnancy or pre-pregnancy. So one of the things we want to start doing, like I said, is really focusing on hip stability and getting that core to really fire off. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our foam roller or a yoga block, or if you have like a deflated soccer ball, basketball, anything of that nature at home, you could use this as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down to the ground, we're going to lay on our back, and what we're going to do now is we're going to squeeze the foam roller between our knees. So here I am, I'm down on the floor, I'm going to squeeze the roller in between my knees. If you haven't noticed in my videos, this is Cab. He is my loving dog who thinks it's always playtime when I get down on the floor. All right, so squeeze the foam roller as strong as you can. Feet stay nice and flat. Hands at your side. My assistant here is going to monitor my progress for me as well. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start feeling those hips realign themselves. We're going to get our BMO firing as well. Now, if you did experience any kind of that separation of the abdominal wall during pregnancy, this is an exercise you could do if you did have a little diastasis as well to the abdominal wall because of pregnancy. So now, once you've done the 30 seconds, what we're going to do now is we're going to do a nice easy bridge. But notice as I do the bridge and I keep my feet nice and flat, I'm not hyperextending my back here, okay? So I'm going ahead and I'm just lifting my body up and down nice and easily as I entertain the dog at the same time. So I'm just easily lifting my hips up and down, squeezing the foam roller. So this is a nice basic exercise you can do to go ahead and start creating some hip stability. Now the next thing we can actually do is we can go into a plank position. Now if you did have that separation during pregnancy of the abdominal wall, planks are actually going to be something you're not going to want to do right off the bat, simply because we do want to work on creating more stability in the core musculature versus actually feeling more strain to the actual rectus abdominis. But if you didn't have that issue, we can go ahead and we're going to perform a whole entire series around the planks, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to come down into our plank position. All these activities are going to be done onto the forearms. So we're going to start with a whole series. I'm not going to hold the whole series for the complete length of it, but just understand you would want to do it for yourself. Okay, so first thing, we're going to come down, hold that plank on your forearms for 30 seconds, and squeezing your butt. The more you squeeze the butt here, the more you should feel the pull into the midsection of the body. And again, you're just going to hold and squeeze for me. Once 30 seconds is up, you can then take a small break, or you can try to go into 20 pike planks. And again, all I'm doing is pushing the hips up. I'm not hyperextending the back when I do this exercise. I'm keeping everything nice and tucked and tight, and I'm feeling as if a string is pulling my midsection back down towards the floor. You're going to repeat that one 20 times. Then what we're going to do is in the plank position, we're going to kick our leg up and down, 5 degrees of motion. Again, getting our quads to fire, our glutes to fire, our hips to stabilize more, and our core to work. We're going to go 20 on one side, 20 on the opposite side. You are going to notice that the balanced leg will feel a brunt of the work. That's totally fine. Then from there, we're going to take the leg out to the side. Again, only 5 degrees of motion in this position, and 5 degrees of motion going out to the other side 20 times. So right there, we're beginning to reset our hips and our core, getting things really operating and working better now that we just had that baby, and we want to really get back to exercise. If you do have access to a Bosu, you could incorporate these using a Bosu, making it a little bit more challenging and harder for you. So let's just take a quick look at doing those, incorporating it with a Bosu. So now here's my Bosu, and I'm going to incorporate actually exactly what I just did with the Bosu. So the first thing you could do is obviously we can put our forearms onto the Bosu, redoing everything we just did on the floor, holding the plank, giving me pike planks, kicking the leg up and down, kicking the leg up and down, and then out to the side, and then out to the side. So you could go ahead and do that on the dome side. Now, the other thing you could do is start to get a little bit more progressive with your exercises and getting them a little bit more set to get the muscle firing patterns to happen, the proprioception and the balance work to happen while all triggering your core. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to put our toes onto the Bosu. I'm going to back this up just a little bit. So here we go. We're going to put our toes on the Bosu. Now we're going to be on outstretched arms. So if you do have wrist issues, I'm going to just let you know, you may feel some tax in the wrist. Go ahead and just make those breaks and adjustments for you. So we're going to come, put our feet dead on top of the Bosu. First, hold the plank, get your positioning, okay? From here, what we can do is what's called mountain climbers. Drive the knee in, push the leg out, drive the knee in, push the leg out. Again, really feeling the entire abdomen wall working. Then from there, you could go ahead, bring the knee in and cross, okay, for 10 each side. And the first one can be 10 each side. Then we could take the leg out to the side as well for 10 on each side. Then if you want to get a little bit more explosive, come here, add a little bit of hop, which can mimic also too kind of that side-to-side action going down the mountain. So right off the bat, there's some things you could do with a Bosu with the dome side. Now, you could flip it over for a little bit more difficulty, hitting and creating some more uneven surface by now having the dome side flip down and your hands now would go onto the flat surface. So from here, again, coming up, just starting in your plank position. And again, you could mimic those exercises we just did off the dome, taking the leg out to the side, as well as going ahead and doing straight leg lifts, taking it out to the side, taking it out to the side. If you want to challenge yourself a little bit more and start working a lot more on core strengthening, you could go ahead and start to go into more of a movement pattern that also executes a side plank. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have one hand more on the center of the Bosu, spread the legs like so, come in, thread the arm, come up, open it nice and wide, hit that balance, coming back down, and then opening it up again nice and wide. So there you guys go. There are some great exercises you can do postpartum that can increase your core strength ability using some things as a foam roller and a Bosu at home. If you want to see anything else in terms of engaging and using a TRX or other pieces of equipment like a therapy ball, just drop comments down below. As always, subscribe to the channel, like some videos, and again, if you are having any issues with the fact that you did have some tearing to that rectus abdominis wall during pregnancy, a lot of these exercises would not be for you initially, just because it does need some time to heal. But you could start with the very first set that we did, which just focuses on resetting those hips for you. Okay guys, this is Dr. Heather. If you have any questions regarding some of these postpartum exercises to reinitiate some of that core stimulation, just drop me a comment. I'm here to help. Have a great day.